Yo, 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 yo. What up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on, players? Howdy doody. Dude, we got things to do. Let's get ready to work. Give me 1 second here, and we are ready to pate. Michael, what's up, baby? Let me take a look at your list real quick. What do you got? All right, Armando, what up, baby? Hey, como? All right, let's rage. What's going on, people? First of all, good morning, everybody. Flat open in the market so far. I wouldn't read too much into it just yet. I don't think it's anything of anything right now. It's been chopping around all morning, so we very well could just pop a little bit in the pre-market and rug it back off, or vice versa. Go back. Now, we are in a stage where we probably, should get prepared for a little bit of a bounce. It doesn't mean it's coming just right now, but the market is getting nasty. But there's a couple things that you always want to watch. Like, usually if you get the market, especially in the index, if you get a candle completely outside the lower Bollinger Band, it indicates a certain level of stretch. And, the eye test alone also indicates, right, a certain level of stretch. Ideally, I think, we flush off in the morning and then we try to rebound it later versus trying to chase it up at the open. That's my guess, based on the price action yesterday. A lot of the stocks were just starting to have their first big down days. And so oftentimes just one down day is not necessarily enough to clean out the system. So we do have to kind of keep that into, we do got to keep that into our heads just a little bit here, and be mindful of that. Now, the good thing is, regardless of what you think about the indices, we have earnings season out right now, right? So we got earnings season out right now. And so regardless of what's happening with this Qs in our, analysis, which is, basically an educated guess, we have all these stocks that are announcing earnings and that we're going to be able to come in and shred with. And so let's start digging into those here. But if you look here, the IWM is still in the 9 EMA. The QQQs is extended, but bearish. We're in that kind of little bit of a sweet spot. And then from there, if you look at the SPY, we're right at the 50-day moving average, and the lower Bollinger Band. So the one thing, we do want to be mindful of, yesterday was the big drop, right? Like we don't have like 4 or 5 days in a row big drop. And so that's why I think it is possible we just get rugged out again today. My plan is to watch for weakness in the morning, and then maybe like the 11:30, European close, kind of 11:30 noon. Once the Europe closes, turnaround. That's usually the best play on these type of things. One flush out would be great. Get the panic going. You got the VIX sitting here. Let's take a look at the old VIX here. You can see here, boom, 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 boom. Old VIX here had a big day yesterday, and so ideally, if we got one flush out here, I think we'd pop that thing into the 20s, which is typically a spot where the market would, start to rebound. We'd get a little bit of a panic coming into the market. So let's kind of keep an eye on all of those things. And dude, we're going to have ourselves a little bit of a hootenanny. Now, next thing we want to always be doing here is just let's take a look at some of the indices. So when you look at the indexes, right, you want to do a little bit of a 5-day sort here. So you can see kind of the VIX was leading the way, right? UVXY has been also pushing. What just happened here? You can see here, you got UVXY, also big day yesterday. This is where, you got to be a little bit careful, right? You need that VIX to just pop through a little bit. And if it does, then you've got yourself, I think 20s that's usually a good spot for it. Hold on here. And you can see here, you're already opening weak. We want to see this thing go red to green and really push through, and then we'll have something. Solars has been holding up okay based on the ENPH earnings yesterday. Not anything too crazy, but that is something we want to be watchful of. Yeah, it looks like Chipotle's already rugging. They had their earnings out. It had a gap up, but it ain't holding. It ain't holding that 200-day moving average. And guys, this is the sign of the market. Stocks are announcing their earnings, even the ones that beat on their earnings, even the ones that get some price target upgrades are selling off. What does that mean? That's a sign of distribution. When you get, right, stocks gapping up on earnings, gapping up on news, and they immediately get rugged, that's a sign of distribution. If you look and you think about, these kind of names, like they're popping up and then they're just getting faded off every day. They'll spike up and then they get faded off. Look at like something like Dell, right? Every day, like you get a little spike up and then it fades off, and you get a little spike up and it'll fade off. You get a spike up and it'll fade off. And it's been doing this forever. Like if you see MU, right? Any kind of spikes in these things, they just get faded off, right? Any kind of spike in this thing, they get faded off. Any kind of spike in this thing, they get faded off. And so this is a sign of distribution. The big money is using these spikes for liquidity, right? They're using these spikes as liquidity to kind of deflate some of this AI bubble, and then probably, right, put their money into other things, that are probably going to be a little bit more efficient for them, right? So that's something we just have to be super mindful of. We're getting this thing, like, it's just nonstop. It's been a distribution. Look, Google yesterday, it opened weak, but in the post market, it was at about 185, 186. It was not like it had strength to it. And then it faded off in the post market, and then in the pre market, and then the rest of the day. Netflix, right, the day of its earnings, had this nice spike up. They beat on their earnings. They surprised on the subscribers, right? And by 5 million, I believe. And so it spiked up at the open to 680, and then it just got rugged. I mean, it's a 50-point drop, guys. That's a lot of something, right? And so that's a sign of distribution. So we want to just be careful. The market tone has shifted. Tesla always misses on their earnings for the most part, right? And they got, but they always, the way the daily chart was going, and the stock was hanging on the flag, 90% of the time, right? That breaks out, and we're really talking about this thing. Man, do we buy this at 300, right? If the market was what it was a handful of weeks ago. So that shift has started to happen, and we have to just kind of be with it. Now, these things don't last very long. They just have to, do its work, right? You have to kind of churn out all the dip buyers. You have to churn out all the chasers and some of the spec and do some of these things. And we're in that. I think we're just in that process of consolidation right now in the QQQs. I do not believe that if we just bounce into QQQs over the next handful of days, that we're coming and taking out these highs anytime soon. Anytime soon. We may take a test at it, running into the election and then get rugged after or something along that end. But it's coming. Rate cuts are probably coming. They might even do them this July. Everybody's saying September, but the way the market's acting, it almost feels like they're about to do this thing early, because there's just so much uncertainty happening, globally, internally, so on and so forth. And a lot of times people say like rate cuts are the good thing, but that usually it could be a sell the news event, because they'd only do it early if they thought there was something really bad happening. So we do have to kind of be just mindful of that. Let's take a look at the gappers. Let's take a look and see if there's any good earnings out or anything like that first. Let's just take a hot gander, see if we got any news out that is, worth something. All right. So Thursday, man, I can't believe it's already Thursday. Yesterday was hump day, and I got no humping. That ain't right. That ain't right. Now we got Thursday economic calendar, durable goods orders, and GDP, right? These are kind of important. And you got the T-bill auction 11:30. Beyond that, so you got the claims reports, blah, blah, blah. And you can just see, look at all the commodities getting hit too. Silver, Gunnar, palladium, Gunnar, all across the board. And then on the upgrades, not really anything here. Oatly. Guys, you should not drink oats milk. That's nasty. Never drink oats milk. If you're a man, and try to get your hands on some nice breast milk. That's the stuff that builds the muscle, baby. That's the stuff that builds the muscle. Raise your testosterone. If it can grow babies, what do you think it can do to you? All right. Get your hands on some nice breast milk. That's going to get you the pump that you need. Now, on the downgrades, EW, LW, Lulu, junk. I wouldn't read too much into this. Now, let's take a look here and see if we got anything on the earnings. The top earnings for the week, we got before the market, we got all these hootenannies, right? So let's copy this and make a little pre-market list here in TC 2000. What day is it? 7/25? Good. All right, so let's there we go. Copy and paste them into a list. This is what you want to do every single morning. All right, so this is what we want to do every single morning. Then, so you got 7/25. These are all the earnings plays. Just do a little bit of a sort, right? Do a little bit of a sort here. And now you'll start to see, like, okay, is there anything that might be worth a damn, right? So you can see like something like this EME, but doesn't have enough volume. Hasbro, get NCTC, Argix, Unilever. Look at some of these. So like a lot of times when you think about it, when you're looking for earnings plays, you're always really focused in on like, oh, okay, the Netflix has their earnings out. Hey, this company has their earnings out, all this kind of hoo-ha. But there's always a whole subset of companies that will gap up on their earnings and make moves, that have nothing to do with, right, your tried and true, stocks that everybody talks about. So just always, I'll put this in the chat room here, but you should do that every single day. Like copy and paste it, go Trade Exchange, Google, whatever. I like Trade Exchange just because it's cheap. It's like $25 a month. But you can use whatever here. Look at this, right? Bread, financial, like you got some decent little earnings plays here. Like see this NVCR? If you cross through this, now the issue on some of these is, of course, what? Well, you don't have any liquidity on them just yet, right? And so this is like something where, a little bit right before the market, you take a little gander at it, run a little volume scanner and just see if any of them have got any action on it. Because like, see this thing, like this RTX, this is something we'd want to be, right? This is like that's a breakout, right? This is the Defense Corporation, all-time highs, it looks like. If you look back here, right, you're breaking out some key levels here. So this is all-time highs. This is the kind of name like you'd want to be trading, right? You have a stock, it's a defense company, right? These stocks have been, cooking and booking all day, all year. That's where we want to be on this, right? Look at this NOC, right? This is like not as good, but you still have a decent, you still have a decent amount of support here. And if it starts to remount, that could be something. I like a little bit cleaner. Look at this. TransUnion. Right. And then what you can do is like look back. Sometimes this is how you kind of want to This is how you'll improve your like earnings gapper skill list, right? So you transfer some of these to your gapper list. Maybe you play a couple. Then you have this list, right? It says 725. Go at the end of the day, right? Go at the end of the day or go at night and see which one of them actually did anything. And then go back and be like, why didn't I put that on my list, right? Like what was missing in my analysis, right? And so that's how you fine tune it so that you're able to kind of get better at these and better at these. So if you think about like if you trade for 10 years, you got 4 earning seasons a year, you're going to have 40 shots at this, right? So it's not like some amazing, epic amount of time, so you got to kind of improve on these things quickly. So just always go back and look back through and just see like, okay, what was rolling through? And then, what you can do is you can even filter these by volume. So you can see here, right? Like AAL is gapping down. Now, this stock does think to trade, but if you like a little bit of a cheaper name, right, you have this thing, it's breaking down all these levels over here. And so that can be something to trade. Old TPH. You got so these so far have not done any volume, it looks like. There we go. We got love here. You got a breakdown on this. Hey, these can actually work. Like I'd add love. I'd add AAL. Both of those, I think, got a little bit of a doohickey. This AstraZeneca is gapping down on earnings, but see like how it's just not clean, right? You got too much support underneath. So that's usually I want something that's clearing. So look left, start to see if you're clearing out some levels. If you are, then it's going to be a lot better. Oh, look at this thing. This I can get behind. Armando used to love playing this one. Look at this. So, what you got here? Dun, 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 dun. Post-adjusted loss, first street estimate. That's a lot of loss. That's a lot of loss. So this one, you got this big base here. You're down 12%. The Buenos. You never know with this. Like you could get a bear rate on this thing if it gets some volume. Let's add it. Look at this stem, STM Microelectrics. Now I'm just adding these on the gapper list right now, and then we're going to go back through. All right, let's add this one. Look, you got a clean breakdown on this one. Semiconductors been getting shit on the last couple days anyway, so we got a good spot there. That's something we want to be a part of. Good. Now, let's start digging through. Let's see what else we got here. Small caps, guys. So these small caps have been hot all day for those of you guys that are diving into this degenerative lifestyle. This Mira, for example, like you can get something on this thing. Look at this bad boy. This thing just went from 1 to 5, then it came back, and now you're bouncing. Now, most likely this is a dead cat bounce, but still, you're gonna have something there. Bally, I believe this was a buyout. Hey, VKTX, blast from the past. This is a biotech stock. It's a low float, only 90 million shares in float, right? It's in that sweet spot too. The reason I'm saying it's a sweet spot is what is the sector that's hot right now? Mid caps and bio caps, right? So if you look, this is the IBB. Guys, this is the IBB. If you're a swing trader, you've got to be a part of this. If you are a swing trader or you do swing trading, you have an IRA, a 401k, long-term accounts, whatever it might be, you got to be a part of this. This is a multi-year base. You're breaking it out. Look at how you're just ripping riding. You're de-riding that 9 EMA, right? You're de-riding that 9 EMA, building out this level here that if it can come through, it's going to go. What's an easy way? Anybody know? What's the easiest way to get exposure to biotechs beyond just sifting through a million stocks? What's the easiest way? Anybody got that answer? Ooh, good, 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 good. No. Damn. Yeah, you can go Labu. All right. So you go with Labu. Now you got this thing really got a hoot and nanny on this bad boy, right? This one's going to have pretty good. So it went from 105 to 151, right? You pull them back. And if it comes out of the zone, it does about 2 million shares a day. This is the easiest way to get it because look, Lava went from 105 to 150. That's a 50% move because it's a 3x ETF. The ATR on this is 6.5. I want to be a part of this, man. That's hot, right? So going back, why I think maybe we need to put this VKTX on the list, right? This is also, I digress. This is got earnings out right now. You're clearing out these levels right now. And it's a biotech. It's a low float biotech. I think we want to add that. It's a Buenos. Now, once you add it, right, you don't just trade it. You don't buy it at the open. Don't do anything like that, guys, right? What you want to be doing is making sure it sets up. So in the morning, there's only, on these type of gappers, there's only two setups you can do, right? One is an opening range breakout, right, where you're breaking the opening range. And the second one is what we call a quick pullback setup, which is essentially the first pullback, right? The first pullback as it pulls back into the 9 EMA, 20 EMA, you can, if you get a candle to hold, you can roll with it. Good. This is short silver. Hasbro's a slut. Unit lever. This is going to be a tell today. All right. So all these stocks, these tech stocks have been fading off their gaps on their earnings. Let's see. This will be a little bit of a tell today. Let's see if this holds. You get a bunch of upgrades and you got a breakout setting up, and it's pretty low float stock. If it actually breaks out, then that might set a little bit of a tone for the day on some of this software names. If it does not and it rugs, then it might be a little bit of a long day. So keep an eye on that bad boy. Oh, Dust Bunny. Dust Bunny. Forget, dude, I haven't traded dust in years. This shorts to gold miners. Gold has been getting shit on recently too. Not sure exactly what that's all about, but not really the funnest thing to trade. Space Mobile. Look at this bad boy. Space Mobile. Let me see if there's a PR on this thing here. It does get a flag pattern on it. You can see here just right up under the kitchen here. Oh, Space Mobile announces first 5 commercial satellites completed. Final assembly and ready for shipment the first week of August. Might be something. If you like small caps, right? This is not a small cap, by the way. I would consider this more of a mid cap. But if you like this kind of price level of stock, $3 billion is, it's not going to be a pump and dump. It's not going to be crazy mover. It'll move maybe 10% today. Hey, man, but 10% ain't so bad. Beats getting a job. Mr. Bram, how are you, sir? What's up? What is up? God, hold on. I'm trying to log into something. There we go. Yeah, let's add it. Fuck it. I mean, it is Thursday. All right. Good. RTX we talked about. I think that's got a nice breakout look to it. Yang. This is the China ETF. China stocks are getting smoked out again. China stocks are a very strange bird. They look like they were bottoming for a hot second. And then, if you look at the FX side, they look like they were bottoming for a hot second here. They have all this news that they're like, doing XYZ, put some money into the system, and then, and nothing's happening. So there's probably a little bit more to the story than we know about. But yeah, this China's are no buenos. They're just tough to trade. We used to trade them all the time, but I just think there's not probably a crazy amount of stuff to do on them right now. Jen Bunny in the house. Jen, Bunny in the house. Hey, so this is actually Sanofi Aventis drug manufacturer, also a little bit low ATR. So this is, I like this look on this, but the ATR is pretty low. So you got a 82-cent ATR if you look over here, right? So that means it moves 82 cents on average per day. For $50 stock, that's probably not enough quesos. That's not enough quesos for us. We're not greedy people by any means. We'll dumpster dive and all sorts of stuff. But 82 cents ATR is probably where we got to draw the line. Amazon, junk. All right, cool. Let's look on the downside, see what we got here. Maxwell. Is this another semiconductor stock? Guys, we are noticing, right, quite a few semiconductor stocks of recent, right, get a little bit taken apart on these earnings. This is something, a development to keep an eye on. Now, most of them have been on kind of like the smaller side of them, but we're also seeing it in AMD and, a whole host of these other names here. So we do got to be just a little bit careful. Everybody talks semiconductor, but if you didn't know the ticker here, this looks like a topping out pattern, right? It looks like a head and shoulders pattern, for the most part. And it's been like that forever. But what happens is when you miss moves, when you have epic once in a lifetime kind of moves and you miss them, then you look at it with the prism of, always bullishness, right? And because the ticker's name. But if you really look at this and you didn't know the ticker, you'd be like, that's an ugly looking stock, and if you didn't know the ticker of SMCI, right? Because you missed all the move, so of course, this thing's at $50, $1,200. We all want to play it and we want to be a part of it. But if you really look at it and you didn't know the ticker, you'd be like, that's not really anything, like that is a big, long topping out pattern, and it can take often months to kind of congeal. When you make such a run, let's say you go from 300 to 1200, dude, that's such a run. Like you're gonna take 6 months, maybe even a year sometimes to digest those gains, where you just kind of chop around and stuff like that. So I think we're getting into those kind of periods where we're gonna have to digest. I don't know if it's we're already there, right? We've already on kind of month 2 or 3 on a lot of these. Dow, right? We're on month 1, 2, 3. So yeah, usually 4, 5, 6 months is what it takes to kind of digest. You could see here, this topped out March 1st for the most part, and then it ran for a while, and then now, so you got kind of a little head and shoulders, pattern here. My guess is they pull to the 200-day moving average. They maybe even break a little bit under, and then they chop around for a while before, you get a decent bid in them. And then they probably start to work its way back. Maybe not at the linear level of this, that was the move, right? Guys, that's the trend. Trends last for a year or two, and then that's it, right? And then you move on to the next hot ones. So yeah, it'll start going back and doing those things, but it may not be the speed at which it was before, because there'll be something new and something, sexy to trade. So just something to kind of keep mind of. This Maxwell, I think we can play. If you don't mind a little bit of a cheaper stock, you can play it. My worry on this would be, obviously the liquidity portion of it. Is it going to have enough volume? I think it should. Let's add that if we need a short. EW. You know what? We've traded this on earnings season a couple times. This one, it's getting smoked out. So the SSR is going to be honest. You do got to be slightly careful, but I think it's got an okay look. Like if it pops up at the open, watch and see if this thing starts to marinate in some manner, and we can take it down. I would not chase an ORB on this. I've lost a lot of money in my career doing ORBs on stocks that just don't have, that had the SSR on it. So you just don't want to stay away from those. I think we've got maybe a little bit a better something. But let's add it for now in case it pops. Look at this QS, man. What a what a grande. What do you got, man? What do you got? All right. Oh, man. $9 all the way back down. That's nasty. Now, I think this is probably a leave alone because see how it's just gapping down back into this support here? When you have something like that, it's like, what's the point? Now, Ford, that's Ganar. It looked like it was setting up for a huge breakout. Looked like it was set up for a huge breakout. Now it's down. The range on this, so this is a huge float stock, 4 billion shares. The range on this after the gap will stink. Like it'll pop up and down 30, 40 cents, 20 cents. It'll ping pong around. And also the chart will be compressed because of, the scale. Probably, I think this is a leave alone too. Armando, what was that thing on the Bitcoin conference? That's the one in Nashville, right? I saw a lot of hotties going to that thing. Not that I would be looking, but I did see some. I didn't know this was even a thing. I've been to a lot of Bitcoin conferences. I only saw a subset of a lot of Indian men. A lot of Indian men. That's about it. STM. Yeah, look at this thing. That's a beauty. We want to play that. NYCB, Armando, this might be yours, baby. That's your kind of play right there. Let's add that. Chunk, chunk, chunk. What are these things? Oh, so these are the Ethereum ETFs. They're already out, huh? That I didn't know. Interesting. Fidelity Ethereum. Hey, anybody ever think that they put out these, ETFs almost to just get rid of the crypto space? Because it's like, why would anybody need cryptos if you have the ETFs for them? They could just kapoof them one day. It's always in the back of my head. Like if the ETF holds all the Bitcoins in the world, right? Say you got like 10 Bitcoin ETFs and they hold, there's only 20 million Bitcoins. They have like 18 million of the Bitcoins. Then the whole point of it all was gone. Look at this, Dow Chemicals. Normally this does enough volume too. So you can see this about 3.9. I think we can add this too. I'm going to narrow this list down. Don't worry. Earnings season always gets a little bit overwhelming because there's so many stocks that have earnings. You got to kind of make a preliminary list and then you wheedle it down a little bit into like, hey, what are the names that I actually would trade and not trade, right? So like this WDC, this actually fits the bill. Topping pattern, tech stock with room to go below, that's hot. Let's add that. Yeah, me gustas. Silver's getting smoked. All right, cool. So we got a handful of these things. So I think this VKTX we want to keep an eye on. For sure. Yeah, we want to keep an eye on this VKTX. I think that's got a good spot to it. Yeah, I think that's got a decent spot to it. Let's roll with that. Now I think we can keep an eye on. Look at this RTX. This has got actually decent enough range. AAL if you like something cheaper, but I think this one might be difficult to trade, frankly, for some of you guys, myself included. The range on it's just too small. Love a little bit easier. You got test. Nice little breakdown. WDC is looking good. This I think we can get behind too. Heck yeah. Man, there's nothing better than shorting banks. It just feels good. Sticking it to the man. I mean, there's nothing better than that. Dude. If it gets under this level, like it's gonna be a bear raid. Let's say keep that. I think this STM is also probably, it's an ADR, so it's not a huge priority here. ADRs, guys, means it's like a foreign stock. Oftentimes they move on gaps and then they just don't have anything left after that. So like anytime you see like a ticker and it's like ADR, and then you look and if you see like a lot of gaps on it, then it's usually untradeable. So like for example, like this low G, right? Like this always see like how it's an ADR and it always moves on these gaps. And so the actual candles are like really, really small because it gaps and then it just sits around the whole day. So this is something to kind of keep in the back of the head. EW, I think this could get bear rated. Just need a little bit of a pop. You have a $3-4 pop in the morning, I think would really set this thing up pretty nicely. Hell yeah, keep it. Maxwell, I think too, we can keep that. BKTX is going to be nice. Now let's take a look here. So this is the game plan on some of these big caps, right? I want to see the morning flush off. So you can see Amazon's opening flat, Meta's opening flat, Netflix opening flat. We don't want these things open flat. Like we want these things to sell off, right? So that we can stretch out the rubber band, so let them fade off a little bit. And then I think maybe after the first flush, ideally 11 to 11:30, start looking. If you get the flush off, start looking to long. We are, a little bit oversold, but not crazy oversold. We're just a little bit stretched, I would say. We want to see these things flush off. Yeah, Apple. Da, 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 da. Yeah, Apple, we could probably short if it pops it to 20, give or take. Yeah, we need to flush off. Because if it pops into about 220, it's going to probably get faded off real quick. We need a little bit of a flush off. Now, look, beyond these big caps, so the plan is only to hit these things on the gap that, if they spike down. I think MU is probably the most stretched out of the group. You get your 9 EMA at 116, so $8 away. What I want you to do is think about the distance between price and the 9 EMA and also where the Bollinger Bands are. To do a bounce trade, you want the candle below the lower Bollinger Band. You want stochastics under 20. And then you want to look at the distance between price and 9 EMA. Like, at least make sure you can fit a thumb. And if you can fit 2 thumbs, I mean, you're in for it. Like just normal thumbs too, not like a pipe fitter's thumbs, right? You ever see pipe fitter? Big fucking thumbs, right? Not those guys' thumbs, regular thumbs. IWM still looking good. If we need IWM stocks, this is the one. HIMS. Write it down. HIMS. We need an IWM stock. It's HIMS, baby. All right? I think that's a 6 windows. For show. Yeah, I think we go HIMS, and then look at this. Because you got the spike, and then right, see how narrow it is right there? That's beautiful, man. It's a beautiful thing to see. I think we try to maybe do a day 2 in ENPH if the solar indexes are going. Big pop on earnings yesterday. Big volume pop, 214 million shares. I think we got a good sweet spot right there. Good God-fearing Christian spot right there. Hey, Lana, baby, what up? What you doing? Who you with? Where you from? Good. What else? What am I missing? What am I missing? Yeah, I think we got a good list here, guys. All right, cool. VKTX, man, that's nice too. Now I think too could be something. Let's see. I'm curious on now. I may not trade it. I'm more looking at it as a proxy. If it fades off its gap, I mean, it's telling you that the tech is still a little bit cooked, right? Brendo, Mr. Williams, where you been? I haven't seen you in class. I haven't seen you in the chat room. I get no love, no calls, no texts, no sweet nothings. Dude, England is way better than Miami. Don't miss Miami. It's going to be 100. It's 110 degrees in Florida right now. Don't miss anything about Miami. Unless you into those Cubanos. Unless you into those Cubanos. Unless you into the Cubanos. And a little dancing, little sexy dancing. All right, guys, I'm hopping in on Zoom right now, making the link. Let's go do this. Yeah, I got to figure out how to use Restream and the Zoom at the same time. All right, I love you guys. Peace. IBM paid off too. IBM, Chipotle, all. This market is cooked on the big tech side. Hey, Brandon, you got a place for me to stay? I'll come and show you some things. My wife is obsessed with Colorado.